I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and it's time to get wealthy. You're going to learn exactly what you need to do to finally achieve the level of financial success you desire and you deserve. Do you know who the biggest customer of all products and services is? Well, it's the US government. That's right. And the other thing you need to know, specifically if you're a business owner, is that the government is required to contract with businesses. And doesn't matter if you're small or big. And so, what do you need to know, or what don't you know about government contracting? Well, the first thing is that the federal government by law is required to do businesses with both large and small businesses. Secondly, that they have business opportunities set aside for minority and women-owned businesses. And then finally, what you need to understand is that you need to get qualified to do business with the federal government. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today with someone who brings a plethora of experience working with federal government and contracts. She is a business architect, a multi-million dollar mentor, and she has more than 25 years experience supporting the federal government with over 22 federal agencies. And I am excited to have this conversation with Akia Hartnett, our business strategist and multi-million dollar mentor. Akia, thank you so much for coming on Get Wealthy.
Oh, Deborah, it is so good to see you, and it's absolutely my pleasure. I look forward to today's conversation.
Well, here's where I want to begin. Your background, you worked in government contracting and then became a government contractor. And now you're teaching other businesses to take advantage of what is a very lucrative opportunity. So talk to us, begin with just by telling us why. Why do you want to help others take advantage of this opportunity?
I have entered into this space because, well, first of all, there's a huge wealth gap, right? We can clearly say that there's a huge wealth gap between minority businesses and non-minority businesses. And what I realized over my 25 plus years being in this industry is that the federal government is the number one buyer in the world. And as such, the value that their contracts can bring to small businesses, women-owned businesses, it will significantly decrease the wealth gap, and it really provides an opportunity for business owners to truly gain generational wealth and leverage time freedom so that they can really enjoy the fruits of their labor with their families, with their loved ones. They can create a legacy by using government contracts. And so I realized that it was a very powerful vehicle that many people are under aware of exactly how to utilize it to make it work to their advantage. So that's where I endeavored to start helping business owners understand the power of government contracting and how it can truly free their businesses. It can relieve financial stress. It can relieve personal stress. So there are so many advantages to working with the federal government. And I endeavored to make sure that I could educate and empower as many people that will hear me talk about how to enter in this space and be successful.
Now that's a mouthful, girl, but here's what I know is that for far too many people are standing on the outside looking in. And if you look at that wealth gap, if you will, particularly in terms of revenues, right? And what African-American business owners, the average revenue is $44,000 compared to, 20 times that in other segments or in other demographics. And so that's exactly where I want to start today. On Get Wealthy, we have a framework for financial success, mindset, strategy, and execution. And I really want to put government contracting in the center of that. What does it take to be financially successful in government contracting? So I want to begin with mindset, Because I would say, Akia, myself as a business owner, I found government contracting to be, what do I want to say, sort of overwhelming, because I didn't have anyone to sort of guide me.
Yep.
And so I want to start with our viewers by you explaining to them, explaining to all of us, because I want to be educated too, is what is the mindset that you need to have dealing with the federal government versus, just, outside, just private industry, if you will.
Yep, absolutely. And that's a great question. And it's probably the first hurdle that we have to overcome. The government can appear to be very daunting. What you're speaking about, Deborah, are the many facets of government contracting, from it's too hard to get started, I don't have enough experience, I've got to have a certification. The first hurdle that we've got to understand, I talk like my granddad, he said there's more than one way to skin a cat. And when we enter into government contracting, we have to understand, I like to use a lot of visual demonstrations and ways to break it down for people to understand so they can relate to it. You can start in the kiddie pool, and then you can go to a regular size pool, or you can decide you want to go into an Olympic size swimming pool. The point that I'm making is there's multiple layers. There's multiple avenues. The biggest thing that we coach clients and that I would tell people, it starts with strategy. I love the 3 areas that you speak about. But before we even endeavor into mindset, the first question that I ask people is, what is your lifestyle goal and what is your revenue goal? Based on those 2 things, you can then begin to craft the strategy that will mirror that mindset or the place that you then begin to enter the market in the government space. So the first hurdle around mindset is recognizing how much you want to actually use the government. Do you want to use them for 50% of your revenue? Do you want to use them for 30%? Are you really unsure and you're just trying to figure out if it even makes sense for me to get into government contracting? So being aware of the different contract types, being aware of your options, understanding the place that you serve from, because it's extremely easy to get wowed by the glitz and gold of the value of contracts, right? Everybody understands, if they have any awareness, that the government can make you very wealthy. In that regard, you've got to quantify what the success of people you're listening to, even myself included, what does that actually relate to? There's a difference between federal contracting, state contracting, and local government contracting. My space, my sphere of influence is federal contracting. And as such, it drives the narrative for everything. So when we talk about mindset, identify your position in the market and how you want to utilize the federal government to your advantage. That's the first thing you've got to do.
I love that you gave us an illustration of the kiddie pool, right? The regular pool or the Olympic size pools. And to that end, I really feel like I've been to many, and I'm sure some of our viewers have, if they're a business owner, an entrepreneur, or they are aspiring to be. And, just hearing, so let's talk about the federal space, that if you, in terms of mindset, right, you made an interesting, what you gave us an interesting perspective, and like, we need to understand what it is, what our objective is. And so the question I have for you is, have you seen people, once they identify what they want, does it make more sense to start out in the baby pool and graduate? Because I oftentimes think that people see they're attracted to the 800-pound opportunity, perhaps becoming an 8A, and you've seen people who have multi-million-dollar businesses. But let's say you're already in business and your strategy is, well, I want to, if the pandemic has taught us anything, is that you better have multiple ways of creating an income because you don't know when one of those channels are going to be closed down, what makes sense? I mean, should I have the mindset of let me just get my feet wet and then I'll, as I learn, then I'll be more successful? Or do I want to just say, hey, I'm going in this whole hog?
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
use a terminology that your granddaddy might
Yeah,
use.
yeah, there's more than one. Absolutely. I love it. Absolutely. And to be, if I were to give a very general answer, because we shoot straight like each other, like bottom line up front. Give me
Okay.
the end goal, because I'm a strategist, right? And so if Deborah has current products or services in the market like you do, or any other business owner that's seasoned, you've got experience, you have revenue, and you're experiencing success, and you want to simply enter into the government market, the strategy for doing so, if you have a full-size team and you have the infrastructure to support the fulfillment of the contracts, you can absolutely go right into the Olympic-sized pool. Why? Your business systems and framework can support it. If you are a newer business, or you are a micro business or a boutique business, and you really don't want to be fully engaged in the day-to-day activities, you don't want to have to show up at meetings all the time, there are levels of contracts that are still very lucrative that you can use in your business that might be the kiddie pool. It might just be, I just want to get in to see if the government can tickle my fancy a little bit, figure out if I know exactly how to utilize them. And you can be going after opportunities of $10,000 or less. Those are called micro purchases. Doesn't usually require a lot of deliverables. It doesn't usually require a lot of buy-in. And so you get to experience and see how the government works. The invoices don't take a long time to get paid, typically under micro purchases, because they're done by credit card. So that's a great entry point for any business owner. However, if you're like a Turner, I'm just throwing out names that people may recognize, big boys, what we call GovCon giants or industry giants, even in the corporate space, and you've got the dollars and you've got the team, you've got the business know-how and the past performance in a certain area, and you bring in a business development team like myself or other companies that are out here, and they procure work for you, you can handle the multi-million-dollar opportunities right off the break because you understand the value that you bring to market. You've just got to match your product and service offerings up to a solicitation that may be out on the street, and you can go full Monty in there. And then there's everything in between. So again, based on the time that you really need to commit to the process, if you're a busy CEO and you've got a business development team, they absolutely, here's something that I want to share, because not a lot of people understand this, and it speaks to mindset and strategy. And if I need to back up a little, just let me know, Deb. But the federal government is one of the only agencies that you can literally forecast and project your entire revenue flow for a year. The fiscal year for federal government starts on October 1st. So this broadcast is perfect timing. It's different than the calendar year. So new money starts over October 1st. Typically, they release something called a forecast report in the month of October. This report literally details and outlines every single type of opportunity a particular agency anticipates pushing out in the street. And it will give you the exact value. It will tell you exactly when it's going to hit the street. It will tell you if it's a recompete, if it's a new opportunity. And so when we really think about organizations who are trying to identify revenue gaps or even ways to scale, this is one of the fastest ways we coach our clients in strategy and things of that nature. And it's what the GovCon giants use. They don't spin their wheels all day, every day.
So basically what you're saying is that the government basically is sharing with you exactly what they're going to buy. And now you get to identify which area your company can create value and compete, because you're going to be competing with others. Great timing. So when we come back, we've talked about mindset, and I hope people understood that what you said. We'll come back to that a little later, but now I want to go to strategy. And I know you're a strategist. So that's exactly what I want to talk with you about when we come back. What are the strategies that business owners need to consider to be a success in government contracting? So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back. I'm having a conversation with Akia Hartnett she's a strategist and has helped many businesses secure multi-millions of dollars of contract through government contracting. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach. I hope you're enjoying our conversation on Get Wealthy, and we're talking about how to get wealthy through government contracting. And now we're going to talk a little bit about strategy with Akia Hartnett. So Akia, I love the way you broke that down in terms of, the mindset you need to have based on where you are. So I think one step from that, and you're absolutely right, mindset and strategy go together. So let's play a scenario, right? Let's real time. So, the government's about to come out on and share what they're going to be buying in the next fiscal year. And what kind of strategy do I have as a business owner want to take in order to be positioned, right, the best for these opportunities?
Absolutely. I love that question. So the first thing that I would say is the first strategy that you need to identify is what percentage of your business is going to come from government contracts. So if you know that you have an annual revenue goal, let's use easy numbers, of $250,000 is your business annual revenue goal, or you could even say you want to be a $4 million business and you want to drive that amount of revenue into your organization. You can now identify that 50% of that revenue is going to come from government work. So $2 million over the next fiscal year / calendar year you want to generate. Well, you'll utilize those forecast reports and there are other technologies that you can identify. And now you can specifically pinpoint that the government has spent approximately $250,000 on this coaching program they intend to release on the street in February. They're going to put another $500,000 opportunity approximately on the street in October. And then you've got another $250,000 or $750,000 opportunity that's going to hit the street in December. Well, right there, our numbers are, what do we got to do? Another 7, 8, 9, that's 1,000. Yeah. So we're on the track. So my point is you can specifically identify what opportunities you want to pursue in the pipeline to help you meet that revenue goal of $2 million. And here's the thing. It is one of the most dynamic tools. If you think about a bullseye, you've got the bullseye right in the middle and you've got lines everywhere around there. Your products and services correlate to targets on the bullseye. The goal is to hit the bullseye, i.e. revenue goal, every single time.
And so,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Akia.
I was going to say, even if you are working with your accountant and you're seeing where your profits are coming in or what revenues you're driving in on a quarterly, monthly, weekly basis, you can literally identify solicitations that work to your advantage. And that's the more strategic approach to pursuing government contracts.
Well, I love the way you frame that. You gave us a real life example of how we might approach it from a strategic standpoint. And I'd like for you to maybe share what are some other considerations that can position you, right? So it's one thing to look at a contract and say, that's in my wheelhouse. But what is the thing that I need to be that could put me at a competitive advantage, if you will, in actually capturing that contract? Because certainly there are going to be many other companies who are going to have the same, who are going to want that same opportunity.
Absolutely. So I think you're leaning into the space of certifications, right? Certifications and set-asides, things of that nature are all tools, right? Certifications are not required. So can we debunk that myth? You don't have to be certified to do business with the government. However, it is an absolute added advantage and benefit for you to hold certifications. There are 6 primary, really 6 in totality that they identify, and a few from the state and local level will help you. But the federal government has 4 primary areas that they issue set-asides or certifications. And I consider set-asides, I'm a car enthusiast. So if you've ever watched car racing, everybody has a vehicle on the track, but there's something that cars can deploy that will give them this added boost called nitrous. Your certifications are just like nitrous on your business. When you deploy them in the marketplace, it gives you that boost ahead of competition, or what I like to call, it eliminates a lot of competition. By holding a certification, it allows the federal government to do what we call sole source. So I know we work with a lot of women-owned small businesses. There are the 8A certification. We've got the veteran-owned certification, service disabled, and we've got the hub zone. Those are the primary 4 certifications or set-asides that most people recognize or are aware of. And by holding any one of those 4, it will allow the federal government to do a scenario like this. So Deborah's the contracting officer. I am the service provider. Deborah and I have a casual relationship. We're neighbors next door to each other. We engage in a conversation. Deborah realizes, hey, Akia, you're in government contracting, right? And I'm going to say, yep, I sure am. Do you happen to hold any certifications? And you're going to say, yep, I hold my woman-owned, I hold my hub zone. Deborah's going to say, I got a program manager that can use your services. I'm going to put you guys in touch with each other to make sure that the program deliverables are aligned with what you do. And then by that simple introduction or phone call or looking in a database, Deborah can decide with the program manager together to issue the contract exclusively to Deborah if she meets all the requirements, simply because she has a specific certification attached to her business. Now, I want to give a slight caveat around certifications because I have a number of friends who are contracting officers and they grace our stages and our communities often. And one of the biggest downfalls that people assume is that by simply having the certification, it will qualify you to get the contract. And that is a gross misperception. Simply because you hold the certification, you still got to be able to perform. You've got to deliver on the products and services. You've got to understand the severity of what you're entering into. And the government takes it serious. If they eliminate competition and they exclusively offer you an opportunity, you want to ensure that you deliver well on said contract.
Yeah, but I want to take a step back from there, because you said something very interesting. And it was that if that you meet a neighbor, the neighbor is a government contractor, she gives you some insight into this contract coming onto the street. But that to me is the most daunting, right? And that is, how do you connect? Just applying blinding to contracts, whoever the program officer is, you don't know them from Adam. Mm-hmm. Strategically, what do you need to do as a business owner to make to make your face known and your capability known, and to get to meet some of these people in this different agencies that are going to be making the decision And I would submit to you strategically, if they know you, have seen you, and know of your past performance, that in itself is a strategy.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it is. I'm glad you brought that up. It was, because a lot of people, you mentioned something very interesting around past performance. And I should have probably opened up the section with saying that my strategies are very unique. They're very uncommon and unorthodox, which is why a lot of people are drawn to us. But that being said, we teach you you don't have to be the subject matter expert. So Deborah Owens, Roland Martin, the next person that's going to grace the stage, you don't have to be the subject matter expert. You've just got to know the subject matter experts. So the first answer, when we're talking about how you meet someone, how do you engage in that introduction? The federal government has a lot of events that fly under the radar. People who are new to market, you're not running Facebook ads necessarily. You're not running Instagram ads. You should have a LinkedIn presence, right? That's where most B2B and B2G opportunities are going to exist for you. But even outside of social media, government contracting is still very much brick and mortar. It's still very much antiquated, old school sales processes. So you've got to get out, even in this post-COVID environment. They have marketing events known as industry days. They have small business expos. They have matchmaking events. The list goes on with about 6 to 7 different type of key events that the federal government holds. And so I encourage everybody, bookmark SBA.gov. And you want to bookmark their event section to see, because SBA does a great job of promoting when there are various events that are happening. But if you're following a specific agency, be notified about the events that they're doing, or set up a profile in SAM.gov under special notices. This is where they're going to advertise or publicize different events that they will hold. And it is a great invitation for you to come out virtually or in person and talk about what you do well. Listen, if you're not your biggest cheerleader, hire someone who is great at marketing and sales and interfacing with these government individuals. So that's what I would say around marketing and how you kind of get out and meet people. But can I tell you, when I first stepped out into the government space on my own, with my own government contracting firm, I didn't have a government contracting mentor. And so one of the ways that I was able to leverage other people's time and talent to cover or to fill that past performance void. One of the very first contracts that I ever won was for food service. I've never run a restaurant. I hold no at that time, I held no certifications. I had no degrees, no culinary experience. So I didn't have the past performance that would have ordinarily followed that particular solicitation. But because I understood the power of how I had been trained, how I've worked since 17 in government contracting spaces, you hire for your weaknesses and threats to success. And in doing so, you have the ability to leverage their past performance to fill the void in and of yourself. I hope you all caught that. You do it every day when you go to the hairdresser, when you hire the plumber to come in and fix your house, when you hire the landscaper to cut your grass. It's not that you are incapable of learning. You understand that it's more important to trade other people's time and talent for treasure.
I love that. You said something really, I think, important there. And that is that so often, and I think it holds true whether you're going for a job or an opportunity, you feel like you got to check all the boxes. And I believe what you've just given is a golden nugget, right? A golden nugget about how you can compete for some of these contracts that could be more lucrative, but you may not have all of the past performance or capabilities. So information is great. We've talked about mindset, talked about strategy, but when we come back, I want to talk about execution. So don't go anywhere, folks. I'm having a conversation with Akia Hartnett, someone who has mentored many folks in all different kinds of, working with all different kinds of federal agencies. When we come back, knowledge correctly applied is power, and it's all about execution.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and we're talking about getting wealthy. And today we're talking about getting wealthy through government contracts. My guest today, if you will, is Akia Hartnett, and she's sharing with us exactly what we need to do in order to compete in government contracts so we can get wealthy. So Akia, we talked about mindset, we talked about strategy, but I now it's about execution. And I broached this as in the beginning when we talked about mindset, and you gave us some, we have to decide, what's our objective, right? How are we going to approach this? So now we're at execution. You gave us some great insight on how to register on SBA.gov, learn about some of the different activities and events that are going on so that we can get more visible. You also talked about certifications a little, and you did say, hey, one of the reasons you want a certification, you don't have to have it, but one of the reasons you want a certification is it can position you, because that's what I was talking, but position you to be a more successful, just in terms of your having a desired framework, right? Like making it easy for them to buy is the point that I'm making.
Correct.
So if we're going to execute, should we be thinking about getting our certifications? And is it difficult to do? I guess that's the question I have for you.
Certifications are not difficult to do at all. As a matter of fact, I tell people, unless it's just for the reasons you don't want to do it yourself, try to do it yourself, because you can pay yourself to fail. So when you do pay someone to complete your certifications, make sure it comes with 100% money back guarantee. Otherwise, do it yourself until you're tired of it, because it's just an administrative process. So it's not difficult to do. You got to check boxes for them. They're verifying many different components. What I will say about the certifications, make sure in all of the certifications, you have to be 51% owner of the businesses. In one particular certification, you cannot list or be listed on more than one business. So if you're a multipreneur, if you have multiple business endeavors and you are trying to pursue your 8A, you are going to have to make a decision, right? Government contracts, life in general is about decisions, but you'll have to decide which strategy is best for you. So to answer your question, it's not difficult. It can be a little bit of a lengthy process depending on how much back and forth you've got to do. But if you've got your tax documents in order, if you can demonstrate your level of responsibility in your businesses, if you can respond in a timely manner to their inquiries, then typically anywhere, if you know somebody on the inside, it can get done sooner than 3 months, but typically anywhere between 3 to 6 months. It just depends on which certification you're pursuing and how busy the government agencies are.
No, that's great advice. And I think the other aspect of it that I found daunting was actually applying for these contracts. So just like getting your certifications, applying for the contracts and trying to get and to be able to successfully get a contract awarded, that can be quite daunting, right? And I can remember partnering on a contract with a large agency. And it was just like, oh my goodness, I felt like I was doing a business plan. So, in that regard, what advice would you give around applying for these contracts? Do you need assistance, or is this something you feel like someone should be able to figure out on their own? But I do know there's a lot of different nomenclature. And if you don't have the key words that they're looking for, they're going to know that you don't understand how to work in the federal government.
Yeah, great question. So the biggest thing you're talking or speaking about is the learning curve, right? Again, understanding what the government is asking for, understanding how to demonstrate that you're the best candidate for the job. I want to address there are a few things that, for example, there's a statistic out, and it had been trending for quite a while that Black businesses or minority-owned businesses don't have the advantage, or small business opportunities are not prevalent, and the government is partial. Can I say that that is not 100% accurate, right? And what I mean by that is the opportunities are out here for us to pursue. They can't keep us. They have to make it available for all. The biggest issue is you understanding the strategy that best fits your business framework, and that will give you the advantage to winning. I tell people in this business, we don't teach you how to compete with the big boys because their pockets are deeper. They've been in it longer. They have the bandwidth to basically outbid you. So you don't want to compete with the big boys. Your job is to learn how to compete like the big boys. There are certain types of contracts that are exclusive to, air quotes, small business owners, that they will never see the light of day for big business, and they can still be lucrative for you. So just like there are opportunities for, air quotes, big business, there are equal opportunities that have the ability for small businesses for you to generate large amounts of wealth. But more than that, it's a fair shot at actually winning. The only time you don't really win is if you don't try. The more you practice, the more you engage with responding to solicitations, the more you bring in a company that has the awareness and can cut your learning curve, the faster you get results. So when you ask me, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish that.
I was going to say, when you ask, is it easy for someone to come in and kind of do on their own? If you've got the time commitment, government contracting is generally about the long game of money. The long game of money. However, there are incremental bursts along the way that you can still take advantage of. So if you have time or you're low on resources, you can spend time tracking and following SBA. You can Google, you can YouTube, you can watch all the videos till your eyes burn. If you do not understand how to execute the information that they are giving you based on your desires, it is a moot point. All right. So when you want to get in, yeah, go ahead, Deborah.
And that's the point, Akia. It's like, I do feel, man, were you in my head? Were you around when I was going through my government contracting struggles? Well, it is true. It's daunting, but you said something that's really important that I wish I had done sooner. And that is about collaboration. So it's not just about competing, it's about collaborating. And I think the biggest nugget you just gave there, and I hope folks are listening, particularly entrepreneurs, business owners who are trying to figure out how to make it happen and execute, that it may be something as simple as you identifying an opportunity and then seeing that someone else who's already playing in government contracting has performance in that area, making them aware and say, hey, would you partner with me? I'll take this aspect of it. And I know you've already got that competency, that could accelerate your ability to execute on an opportunity.
Absolutely. We just had the great resignation. They said, what was it? 4 million people resigned and entered the marketplace. People have gotten away from COVID did a complete reset on everything. And I think what it did was it shook people to the point where they no longer were interested in being hired for just the dollar. Things needed to mean something to them, that to the point where 4 million people were willing to walk away from a job if it meant they got to spend more time with their families, if it meant they got to do something of value, and they weren't just a human machine that showed up, put out work, and I didn't really contribute to something meaningful. So my point is, in the government space, you have the ability to breathe life into people. You have the ability to transfer generational knowledge, transfer generational wealth, give people a feeling of hope. When you can begin to mirror, here is the biggest thing you want to do in pursuing contracts. Mirror what the agency needs. We've been taught in non-government space, so in B2B and e-commerce and consumers, we've been taught to look for our ideal avatar. Use marketing language that would attract them to us. And when you do, then it's easier for you to sell because they can know, like, and trust you. Well, the government has given it to you on the flip. The government has told you everything, the who, what, when, where, and why. It is not rocket science for you to figure out where you can get in and become lucrative. Your job is to mirror that you are the answer to this world's economy. You can come up with 3-ply masks in the middle of a pandemic as a stay-at-home mom. That's a seamstress. You can be, hear me, a homeschool teacher with a homeschool curriculum that you're selling to homeschool moms for $10 and $20, which is grossly underpriced. And you can now put this product into the government agencies, into all of the school systems as a supplemental education plan, especially for private schools and public schools that nurture a relationship with homeschool communities. And the government will pay you to do it. You have simply got to own your brilliance. Stand in who you completely are, be fully persuaded and convicted that if you're not the person to get the job done, you know someone. And you are willing to take full accountability and responsibility for not only the contractual obligation, but the social obligation that the product and service you have created will render a change for the end user.
Now, Akia, you sound like you just sold me. I don't know what you're selling, but I'm buying it.
Listen, people need money, and the government is dishing it out. I tell the government doesn't have a savings account. They are the only business that is not worried about savings. When a recession hits, they do what? They print more money. How many stimulus checks did they give out?
Stimulate the economy. And I do think, though, what I love about this conversation, and I hope our audience is getting, you're not saying think out of the box as you are thinking in the box, right? And the box in this case, and that's what I meant by that mindset shift. So often when you're in the private sector, is how can you differentiate yourself? Whereas in this box, it's about how can you match what you already do to their needs, right? So this truly is needs-based selling. You don't have to, they told you what they want, tell them you can give it to them, and then, on to the next step. So when we come back, it's our Analyze, Optimize, Maximize segment, where think of it as a lightning round, Akia, where we're going to take all of the nuggets that you dropped throughout this program and really show our viewers what they need to act on now. So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back. We've been talking with Akia Hartnett about government contracting is what her company does and the reason she's so knowledgeable. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and we've been talking about getting wealthy through government contracting. And we've covered a lot of ground today, but now it's time for our Analyze, Optimize, Maximize segment. And Akia is going to show us exactly what we need to do to take all of this information that we've discussed and really take action on it. So Akia, thanks so much for all of the nuggets you've dropped. But now I want our viewers to be able to look at this from the standpoint of, all right, I know I've been thinking about taking advantage of it. I knew I should be taking advantage of government contracting. I love what she says. So what is the one thing that you have seen with your own clients as you've analyzed? What's the one thing they have, the ones that get further the fastest have in common, if you were to analyze their performance?
They already have a product or service currently in market that is producing revenue.
So the point is that you don't necessarily want to just go through and see, oh, this contract is lucrative. The easiest path to cash really is taking what you already done and now marketing it to the government.
Absolutely. That for our clients, that is the fastest path to success. But if it is someone that does not, we have clients that have success with zero business acumen, no products or services. And if they trust the strategy, they get results. We've got a young lady, government assistance to government contracts. She literally was on government assistance when she came to us, and in less than a year, she has been winning multiple government contracts, and it has changed the trajectory of her family. So for me, we're a little different. We can work with, it's industry agnostic, right? So again, based on what your goals and objectives are, our team crafts a strategy, a blueprint. What I will say when we analyze, optimize, and maximize, I think it is, you want to have a business formation. You've got to have some level of business formation. You want to have a business checking account, and you also need to have an EIN number. With those three things, get registered in sam.gov. That is the database, the universal database to get registered and do federal contracting. Once you've completed that component, what I would give you is 5 quick things to do. You want to set your strategic initiatives. You want to identify your marketing channels. The third thing is, what is the sales strategy that will correspond with the different types of contracts you're interested in? And then business partnership. Who do I need to possibly partner with? Whether that's a business to business, or I simply go out and hire my own employees, it's still business partnership. And then the last component, once you've got those 4, now you can add the nitrous to the machine and take off for business expansion.
I love that. So you really covered the optimize aspect. So analyze, if you've already got business doing, the people that get further faster already have that competency. Maximize, you talked about the 5 things there. Optimize, you talked about the 5 things there, but I want to talk about maximizing because I do feel like so often the reason that people get stuck, right? Like they'll follow all of the suggestions that you did, and then they're afraid of hearing no. They're afraid of doing all the work and then not getting the solicitation. You said something that I thought was so appropriate, and that is that this is the long money game. And so to that end, if I'm a maximize on this, how should I be prepared? How many of these contracts should I go after? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the mindset that I need to have to keep going? Not just so that I don't get, I don't feel defeated because I didn't get something and then I just leave things the way they are.
Absolutely. So there's a couple, I'll hone in on one quick strategy. We call it the 4X or 5X model. And so for if we use easy numbers, $100,000 is your revenue goal. You want to have written or responded to $400,000 worth of opportunities. in order to hit that 100,000. These are just basic fundamental metrics that we use in the GovCon space. Some coaches will tell you 5X. So submit 5 times the value of what it is you desire to win, because you got to consider things like competition and things of that nature. So use the 4X or 5X model. The next thing that I would tell people that many people don't understand is have the proper mix of contracts. Guys, there are at least 4 different types of contracts that are available to you. Each of them are mandated or run differently. Each of them drop different amounts of money into your business. So you have the proper mix, the same way when we think about our stock market and our stock account. We hold a mix of portfolios, different types of stocks in our portfolios. Your government contracts, your business development as a whole should be exactly the same way. So perhaps you go after a micro purchase. You need quick wins. It doesn't matter about expertise. It's more price driven. And so if I can supply it at a great price, typically I'm going to win the contract, right? More around micro purchase or product basis. Different than someone that's a service-based. I use the example of a brain surgeon that they need to wear a tutu and go to the moon, dance on the moon in their pointer finger. Well, that's not about price so much, because that's more about expertise. You've got to have experience performing brain surgery in a tutu on the moon on your pointer finger. Where value is present, price is of no concern. So you need to ensure that you have the proper mix of contracts while you're moving towards the long game of money, using your business as a vehicle or a conduit to move currency.
No, I love that, Akia. I think you really are, I'm a big, and that's what this whole show is about, really a way that if you already own a business, that you can diversify your income stream. Government contract has so many other benefits. You know what that cash flow is going to be, depending if it's multiple year contract. You have reoccurring revenue coming in. You can plan for staffing. There's so many benefits, and the key is diversification. And with the economy being so volatile, that's another reason you want a government contract. So getting back to diversifying, if it were, the government would be like a bond, because you know what the value of it's going to be, but if you're in business, it's always like the stock market. It can go up and down.
Yep.
Akia, this has been such a great conversation. And as I knew you would, give us the real 411 and knowledge about a very lucrative opportunity. Can you share with our viewers how they can contact you, your website, to learn more about what you're doing in the government contracting space?
Absolutely, Deborah. Thank you again for having us. And so for all who are viewing, you can follow us over on Instagram at ThinkGovCon. Our website is governmentcontracteducation.com. Governmentcontracteducation.com. We're on all the social media platforms. We have a Facebook group. Our YouTube channel is coming, so stay tuned. But those are the ways that you can primarily contact us. Governmentcontracteducation.com.
Excellent. Well, Kia, thank you so much for helping us get wealthy through government contracting. When we come back, folks, I'm going to share with you the 3 things you need to know from today's show.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation about government contracting. But here's what I want you to take away from today's show. First thing is, do your homework. You've certainly gotten a lot of knowledge from our guest today, but now you need to take action and go to those websites that she mentioned. The second thing is, one of the ways that you can really position yourself and get further faster is by collaborating, finding a mentor or partnering with others. And then finally, as our guest said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So understand that you're playing the long money game if you want to win. Thank you so much for joining us on Get Wealthy. I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and you're watching us on the Black Star Network.